Hello and welcome to Legoland Malaysia, and we're about to take a look round, well, what is something pretty special. So this has been rebranded to Rebuild the World, but obviously the title of this video would have given it away already. Now, I didn't clock onto it straight away. I just ended up walking around, and then I started to ask some questions to myself because the layout looked familiar, and then as you come out the exit, all will be revealed. And then towards the end of the video, we will start doing a nice comparison. So we'll actually go around this twice. We'll go around first time round for the Rebuild the World bits and pieces, because this is all to do with their 90th year of play. This was a big thing Lego did on their anniversary. This was filmed in 2024. I will be very, very surprised if this branding will still be here in 25, because they don't actually have the Ferrari sort of play bits and pieces that they've got at all of the other Legoland parks currently, and this would be a perfect position for it. It's right in the middle of the park, but we will have a nice look at all of these models. So the Rebuild the World section of all of the different parks around the world, like Legoland Windsor, Billund and all of the others, it's basically a big area for the little ones and big ones alike to build. But as the title of this video has already given it away a little bit, start paying attention to what you think might be where. Then I will put the bits and pieces to where I think certain bits and pieces used to be, and then you will see a big video at the very, very end. But you can see you've got the big Pokemon balls. You can see you've got lots of other little bits and pieces all dotted around in here. This was a nice little area to come in and actually see all of these models in here. This is very similar, actually, to what they've got at Legoland California. This is a nice open area. Billund and Windsor is completely different. You basically walk in and they don't actually have any models on display in those areas, but they do just have a big area to build. But then if you go upstairs at the one at Legoland Windsor, it actually used to be the same thing as what this used to be. So I'm just thinking about it now. When you used to leave the old attraction at Legoland Windsor, you actually walked through what is now the Rebuild the World section. So it does seem to be, it is an ongoing trend with the Legoland parks at the moment to what these rooms have become. And I love learning about the history of the parks, what used to be where originally and how things have developed and changed. And I'd love to see stuff looking back on things and looking into the future. It's always interesting from a business point of view how they reutilize the space. If it goes to offices, if it goes to more areas for roller coasters or for building, or just different bits and pieces like that. But the room that we are in now, I would be intrigued to know if this was the exit or the entrance of what we will be seeing in a little bit. So let me know what you think it might be. I think it might be the entrance. I think it is the entrance in, because the exit is very, very similar, I think, to the one that they had at Windsor. But at the same time, what you will spot, if you've already spotted it on the roof, is actually the exit. So it might be a different configuration. So we'll have to play it by ear and see exactly what is what. But I am very intrigued from anybody that was here a few years ago that actually did do the original walkthrough attraction, what used to be in every single room. Now, I was very, very lucky to speak to the members of staff here, and they actually let me know the layout of certain bits and pieces of what it used to be before the false walls and things got put up, and the fact that they still have some of the original models hidden behind the walls, and I did get to see them, was amazing. So I'm glad that they haven't thrown all of them away, because if you have been watching some of these videos already, I did say I am very, very surprised that they have so many Star Wars massive models all over the park. And now, in about 3 minutes' time, a light bulb will go off and I kind of figure out where they came from. So hopefully you've pretty much clocked onto it already, what we are walking around. But if you're still unsure and you just want to watch it from the Rebuild the World series at the moment, then obviously we'll just carry on looking at that. So we now go into this room. Yes, the flicker is a little bit annoying, but I haven't slowed it down to try and take the flicker away. So it's just one of those with some of the bad lighting. So I do apologise. Depending on what room we're in, it is what it is. Now, that purple and pink wall directly in front of us, just imagine that is not there, because something behind that wall is very, very special. And to that door to the right hand side, just beside the fire exit, that used to be where the walkthrough used to go. And if you actually start looking at the floor, because it's been repainted, and the more I pay attention to this, it's very, very interesting what I think and the reason why the colour of what it used to be is what it was. And when you start to see the other bits and pieces, it will all make sense. But the fact that they have hidden it so well with all of the new artwork and everything like that, unless you had been to the Legoland Park previously, you would not know. But I really do like that. They put an umbrella holder there for when it's raining. You can just put your umbrellas in there and you don't have to worry. Now, this is you leaving. And then straight away, I was like, this is the old Star Wars walkthrough. This is just incredible to see that all of this is still here. And I'm like, well, I didn't spot much when I first walked around, so we will go straight back in and start to compare. But you've got all of the original stuff of the walkthrough attraction. Now, this used to be the exit of Windsor. So you used to walk in on Windsor through a beautiful walkway, and then you had this exit, but the exit also had bits and pieces on the roof. So potentially this is the entrance, and where we walked in is the exit. So if you know, please, please let me know, because I'm still trying to figure out which way would make more sense to come in. It makes more sense, I think, walking in this way and seeing all the models, because it is obviously such an eye-attractive thing, and this shape looks very familiar to this shape. Now, we are at Legoland Windsor currently, and you can see what that looks like. I have all the big bits over the top, and yes, obviously it was the Falcon. So I am now panning around, and I turn the camera off, and I ask the question, was all of this for the Rebuild the World Planet Legoland the old Star Wars attraction? And they said yes. So I walked straight back in, looked up at the roof, and spotted this. Now, that is why I think the models used to be dangling on the roof, but what we are looking at right now is also the actual exit of Legoland Windsor, and where it is bright purple and bright teal, that is actually where the big models are located, the models that we have just looked at. So it's very, very interesting just to see the differences. That's why I'm not too sure which way you come in and which way you come out, because at Legoland Windsor they had both of those things together. Now, this is a little bit of a better look up at the top. You can see as we pan round, and then as we go into the next section, you can see now just how wide this room is. So is this room where these things used to be? Now, this is again from Legoland Windsor. This is just a different bit of the stuff that they had on show. So I'm going to have to let you guys and girls make your own minds up and just let me know what you think. But as it stands right now, the building area is still available, but this room just here is where I think major bits and pieces used to be. Because the reason why I'm looking at the roof is they had so much stuff dangling from the roof, and now they put false walls in absolutely everywhere. Now, the thing that I said that used to be behind that purple wall is this thing just here from Legoland Windsor. Now, I did see this, and this is the model that is still there at Legoland Malaysia. They let me have it, just literally stuck my head through, and I could see that just there, and it walked around just like it did at Legoland Windsor, and then it moved on to the next room. So as you can see right now, I have added in the footage from Legoland Windsor, and we are now just going to soak it all up, and then you can let me know where you think the different bits and pieces should go. But I am going to go quiet now for the next few minutes. I can't use the original audio from Legoland Windsor because it is obviously all Star Wars themed bits and pieces. Walking around, the models of everything are absolutely stunning. Pay attention to the ceiling, pay attention to the floor, and then make your own mind up where you think goes where at Legoland Malaysia. But guys, as always, if you can like this video and subscribe to the channel, that'd be absolutely fantastic. But thank you very much for watching. You lot take care, and I hope to catch you next one. Ta-da. Hello and welcome. Got a special one for you today. We're going to take a trip down memory lane. Cast your minds back all the way to 2012 when Legoland Windsor had this incredible Star Wars walkthrough attraction. So we've got a couple of photos to warm everything up with, and let me get the introduction out of the way and basically explain as we have a quick look at the entrance with the Falcon's back end, and then the front end as well, is that the video footage was filmed in 2012. So it's going to be a little bit grainy, but I have done my best to brighten it up in places, and I've slowed the whole video down. So this is a proper trip down memory lane for me because, like I said, I think this was the first ever time I had walked through this attraction back in 2012. Some of the photos I do believe are from 2014, and then I was there for the very, very last day of this attraction. I think it was either 2017 or 2018 before they had to close the attraction down due to Disney taking over Star Wars and blah, 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 blah. So we are going to go around the Clone Wars first. There's a lots of different bits and pieces on offer. Let me know if you've actually walked around this attraction because it was a very, very special thing. This is actually my first introduction to Star Wars as well. I walked around this not having a clue about absolutely anything. Now, the reason why I'm having to have full voiceover and take all the sound away is they had the theme tune from everything you can possibly imagine playing in the background. But I will go quiet in a second because there is a gun battle. It's going to be loud, but that is how loud it was in the actual attraction, but there's no music. So you can just imagine all the sound effects going off with the flashing lights. It was a very, very good sort of immersive, interactive type thing, and it was just something really nice to remember. But here we go. So that was that, and then the music kicks back in again. But you can just imagine what that was like to walk around and hearing all of that, and then you've got all the lightsabers battling around. If I do remember rightly as well, they did then actually turn the lights up, I think, so you could have more of a peaceful walkthrough. That's what they're kind of doing now anyway. But if I remember rightly, they did do that kind of thing at this attraction. Now, I do believe now that this is actually offices. So going by one of the older comments that I had way back when on one of the videos that I did, they did say that once it's closed down, they just needed to expand their office space. I don't know if the models are still there, though, and I would really like it, actually, if they were to do another indoor attraction around Legoland Windsor, because it is just a really, really nice thing. It was really nice to go in and around, especially when it was raining. They just broke the day up as well, because it was just one way in, one way out, and then you finished in a huge Star Wars shop, as you can fully well imagine, and they had every single set that you could imagine on display. But like I said, I've done my best to slow it down, and I have tried to brighten it up in places. But again, if you did come to this attraction, can you remember what year? Because I know that this was filmed before they had added in the big Death Star. So I think the Death Star was added in at a later date. So I don't actually have any video footage of that, but that was obviously the first picture. And there's a couple of more clearer pictures little bit later on, because back then there still wasn't the technology in the phones, and it was just basically like a megapixel, and it was all grainy and horrible. But I think it's come out all right, and I think you guys and girls might be able to see it okay. So hopefully this is something that if you never knew that this was here, then obviously it's something that you can enjoy. Now, I was very, very lucky to see some of the other Star Wars displays in America. Now, the one in America was actually outside. They did have the big Hoth display, and they did have something else. But I think Windsor really, really went to town on this display, and they just had everything in here. It was on a huge, huge scale. Obviously, you can see all the different scenes that are going on at the moment. So if you can recognize that Padme scene with her in her white outfit, one of 300 different outfit changes she had in that film, then obviously let me know if you can remember exactly where that is in that bit. And then as we come through, you will then see all of the different clones with all of these huge models that are flying around. Now, everything obviously is Lego brick built. You have got very, very clever sort of theming all around the outside, because this rock face is there to touch. You then got all these little bits and pieces just on here, and then when we spin around and have a look at the clone section, you'll notice that it's almost like wallpaper around the outside, but they do have Lego built ships as well. I wish this was still open, because the 2023 me would be going around half pace of what I'm doing now and soaking absolutely everything in, because the amount of stuff that when I re-walked around it years later, replica that was dangling off the ceiling. So you can see those ships in the background. One of them is real, and I think one of them is just in the actual paper, or I think it is wallpaper that they've got up there. It is very, very clever. And then as we pan around slowly, you will see that there's all sorts of other little bits and pieces going. But the nice thing is about this is that you can see the button. So that's what I'm waiting for, because the button's been pushed. It goes a little bit darker, and then there's bits and pieces going on, and then it carries on to this bit as well. So you can see all the battle of everything that's going on with the ship that is shooting up and back down again, and then you've got all the droids and the troopers and all of those little bits and pieces. There's a lot to soak in and a lot to take in, but the actual square foot area that this display took up was huge. But I thought it was very, very clever, just the way that you could come in, you could then just walk through all the bits and pieces. It snaked around absolutely everything. I do believe it was actually a ride before the walkthrough attraction. Now, correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section, but I think that is right. I'm sure I've seen one or two older photos of what it used to be, and then they had all of this. So I would love to know if these bits and pieces are still here, but the models always look very, very good, and you can see just the scale of all of these bits and pieces that were going on. And again, I'm saying it one more time, filmed in 2012, so it's going to be a little bit grainy and it's going to be a little bit bouncy, and obviously the building techniques and everything have changed drastically, but it just looks very, very smart. Now, this I have massive memories of, because I do believe when you push the button, it all lights up, and then you've got a really, really nice green LED strip. So there's a little black box just in front of you. You wait for that to light up, push the button, and then lots and lots of different bits and pieces go. So there's loads of different ways for this to actually happen. I would imagine that if this was open in 2020, they would have had to have closed it anyway, with all of the regulations that came in then, because you wouldn't have been allowed to walk through an indoor area, and you wouldn't be allowed to touch any of these buttons either. So they almost closed it in the right year, to be honest. But you can see just how nice that looks with all the really, really bright and vibrant LED lights. I really do like the green that wraps around. Then you've got the big battle just going over to the right-hand side, where you've got all the red lights, you've got all the blue lights, and then there's lots of other little bits and pieces going around, which the camera isn't going to be picking up, just because the technology wasn't there in the camera, and it is just a little bit dark. But there's lots of sort of people moving around. There's lots of animatronics, and the effects, like the noise effects of what is going on with everybody shooting and the music that's been made and everything in the background. I just can't share it with you, just because of copyright reasons, which is just such a shame, because it was so loud as you were walking through. It just echoed about, and you can just hear, like I said before, all of the lightsabers going off, and you can just imagine what this battle would have sounded like when you were there. Now, I am here for a while, because it is quite a lot to soak in. You can see as it gets a little bit brighter, you can see all the different bits and pieces that are on the ground. So it's just trying to see everything and soak everything in. Now, if you know what battle that is and what part of the film that is from, or any of the vehicles, then again, let me know in the comment section below, because at the time of this being filmed, every single one of these sets, I think, were available to buy, including that massive thing there with the 8-wheel drive at the back. That is a cool looking thing. So I do remember that vividly from walking around that attraction. Like I said, just casting my mind back all the way back to 2012, walking around this for the first ever time, not having a clue what any of this is. Jay's Toy Collection UK would have been appalled if I had walked around with him and not known anything. And then we have the famous lava scene. So you can see you got R2-D2 and C-3PO up at the top, and then as we come down a little bit, you can see that there is a little bit of a battle that's going on with all the volcano and everything down there. And again, the paintwork that is on the floor, and how you change from area to area, then you've got all the different lighting and all the different effects. It really was a very special atmosphere and environment to be in, and it just worked so well. Even if you weren't into Star Wars as such, like I said, it was the first ever time that I walked through it, there was just a lot to soak in and a lot to see. Now, there was a long sort of snaking little walkway that you walk around, and then you got to the next scene. Now, the next scene is all about Tatooine and this unbelievable falcon that is flying off. Obviously, this is a very, very famous scene. Every time I look at this, it reminds me of the UCS Falcon. And I am still thinking to myself, do I regret selling it? I don't know, because every time I look at this, because it's on such a large scale, The bigger scale reminds me of this perfectly, but I don't think it works well with the little cantina. So I think you need a smaller ship. Anyway, getting sidetracked and talking about the cantina, we're looking at the battle, so you can see. Just imagine again all the sound effects, all the noises, and everything that is going on with the music and everything in the background. It really was one incredible experience. Now, that's the only other bit of footage that I've added in. If that made you jump, I've just managed to find it because I thought the Cantina theme tune was playing all the way through that. And luckily it wasn't, because that is on a push button. So we managed to catch the very, very end, because obviously when it lands, you can see all the sound effects. No, actually, sorry, all the blast effects and everything stop. And then it all sort of calms down, and then you just keep hitting it on repeat. So I think it's supposed to work in either alternate, where you can push this button or you can push the sort of the cantina band playing. Now, in the background, if you notice, there are people sort of, obviously everybody's taking photos of this, but there is a little walkway round. Now, that little walkway round is pretty cool, because you can crawl underneath and then actually get in the middle, right by the cantina, and get close to the cantina band. So it actually allows you to get into the middle of the display. And yes, that is an absolutely massive Hoth display in the room next door, but you did have all these massive windows that you can have a look at everything. And you've got the huge 8080 at the back. That does look very, very smart indeed. Now, we are going to be having a look from this side. That is where the cantina is, and that is a band. We are waiting for the people to move, and you can see that the blue lights just come back up on the Falcon, and then up it goes, and it carries on. So you can see just the size of the rooms. Each one of these rooms are very, very big. You can get like almost 2, maybe 3 double push chairs side by side with regards to width. So it's really simple to sort of walk around. If I remember rightly, this has also had good wheelchair access, but you came in on a different way if needed, because I think there was a couple of stairs and it sort of snaked around. But you can see all the other bits and pieces from Tatooine, and if you pay attention in the background, that's the bit where you can actually crawl up. So you can see the plexiglass dome. There's 2 of those that you can actually stick your head through, and then you can have a good look at everything that's going on. But that is the push button for the cantina music, and then there is other music that plays with this, which is obviously for the Hoth. And then when the Falcon takes off, there is the Star Wars theme tune for that before the blast effects happen. Now, this also did sound amazing. You had lots and lots of different bits and pieces going on, but again, you've got the cantina music in the background and all the other little bits and pieces. But you've got the chambers underneath, where I can finally find what I'm looking for. So I've got a very, very funny feeling this is an old school camera. They didn't even have a viewfinder on the side, so I was basically guessing and just hoping for the best. It's a proper old school type thing. I'm trying to think, it was on a high 8 tape, to be honest. So it wasn't even on a memory card. So how difficult that was to actually get off back then compared to an old copy and paste. It's got so much easier very, very quickly. But you can see you've got the big 8080 and you've got the little 80ST there with the 2 legs, and then you've got the speed chasers, I think they are. There's the scene going around where they are wrapping it around the legs of the 8080 as it's falling down. You've got a lot of animatronics again, lots of different buttons to push. I think there's 3 different zones on this side. You can see how it gets darker and then the lights start going, then it gets a little bit brighter again. So the Hoth is probably the easiest to see through this camera, I think. And then as we come through, you can see you've got all the different buttons at the front, and then right behind us, you've got some different animatronics or sound effects that you could just push the buttons for. Now, from here, you will then carry on walking to the next segment. This next segment is also another good size. There's lots of different bits and pieces going on. And then in 2012, or when it was in 2012 when this was filmed, that's where the attraction finished. But when they opened up with the unbelievable Death Star, which we will be taking a look at through the photos, that thing was incredible. They had a huge room, and I'll never forget it, because they had a big TV with how they made it for the model team. Just off from that, they had loads of different animatronics and different buttons you can push all around the Death Star as well. And they had lots of different scenes, I think, from the Death Star being played. And then behind you, there was a sit-down build area as well. So that was one of their first sort of bits and pieces that they put in, where people could then sit down and build things. Now they're all over the park. It's exactly how it should be. And it is incredible that you can now go around Mythica and you've got all the different areas that you can sit down and build. Whereas this, I think, probably is the thing that
started it all off, and they've just started to steamroll through with everything. But it's just a shame that I don't have any footage of the actual Death Star. Now, if anybody does, and they can email it to me, I would be very, very grateful, because then I can just make an updated version of this a little bit further down the line with updated footage as well. So if you have got any more clearer footage than this, and it's just on an old computer, feel free to email it over, and I can tag you in the description, give you a massive shout out in the video as well, because it was a very, very special segment. Now, obviously, this is where you just then went to the shop and it just ended, whereas this bit where we're going to have a look at now, look at that. So as you push the button, it changed. You can see then it lights up and it just shoots off. Underneath it is where you've got all of the different build bits. There's a lot going on with this. Now, this then takes you into what is the imagination center with the staircase up top, and then that's where the shop was. Now I've just backtracked and found some more photos, and then you had all of these models as you were walking out towards the shop itself. So again, feel free to pause on any of these. These are the more modern photos that I took. That's why these are a little bit clearer. I think this was taken on the last day. I just took a load of photos instead of filming everything, which is a little bit stupid. I should have just filmed the whole thing, but I just basically took photos of everything instead. But guys, that is it. The trip down memory lane is done. So if you can like this video and subscribe to the channel, that'd be absolutely fantastic. Again, comments below, feedback below. If you ever managed to get through this attraction, did you even know it was there? Would you like Legoland anywhere around the world to reintroduce an indoor attraction like this as a big walkthrough? I miss it greatly, but then at the same time, everything has to move on, and it is always for the better. But if you can like this video and subscribe to the channel, that'd be absolutely fantastic. But as always, thank you very much for watching. You lot take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Ta-da.